Good afternoon, and welcome to another exciting day. It is always a beautiful day when you open your eyes and you have breath in your body, and certainly this is a beautiful day. Today I think we want to talk about a topic that I think is extremely important,
I agree.
but one which oftentimes goes unlooked at, I should say, until catastrophe happens.
Yes.
And so, one of the things that I have found is that most people, when they are married, uh, don't think about what it will be like if they somehow end the relationship.
Yeah.
Or if whatever situation may be. And I think that oftentimes that once that happens, the focus you focus so much on other things, you don't think about that which will help you really become the person that you tend to want to be as a single person.
That's true.
And I'm saying that to say this is that it's hard to maximize singleness if your bank account is at the minimum.
That's true. That is true. Yes.
And I think that oftentimes when people become single, their outlook or their thought process on how to obtain wealth, their process on how to recover, from being damaged, because of a financial catastrophe, becomes somewhat cloudy.
It does.
Because when you have been dealing with two incomes and now you come to one income, people don't really go back and rethink based on one income. What they do is they lament that they don't have two incomes. It kind of reminds me of what happens to people when they retire. I've often heard people say this when they retire. I'm now on a fixed income.
Okay, I hear it. Also.
I laugh at that statement.
Okay, why?
Because everybody I know is on a fixed income.
That's true. You're right.
You can't go to your employer and say, "Hey, listen, by the way, I want more money this week."
Okay, that makes sense.
Can you?
Nope.
No, I know. So you're on a fixed income.
You are right.
Because every week or every 2 weeks, it's the same amount.
That's true.
It doesn't magically increase because you got more bills. So we're all on a fixed income. But our mindset doesn't have us to think that way. And so, therefore, we make decisions as if because we are working, it's not a fixed income.
I got you.
And that's what creates the problem. So today we want to talk about maximizing your finances so you can maximize your singleness. And I think this is going to help people who are not just single, but people who are married as well.
I agree. This is, like you always say, this is great for everyone. I will say this. You mentioned being married, and then actually once you're single, we don't think about that adjustment that has to be made. I think at being single, I can honestly say for myself, we tend to think the best thing to do is let's get remarried. We're looking for someone else to couple up with so we don't experience the difficulties that come along with being single when it comes to our finances.
Right.
We always feel like, I think, when I say we, I should say I used to feel as if I had to do it with someone else. It's not going to happen unless I'm with someone else. So it took me a while to realize, there's no Captain Save 'em. You're going to have to figure this out on your own. With God, of course.
Right.
So,
but even Jesus said, no man builds a house without first counting the cost.
That's right.
So it's not like he was saying, if you make a foolish financial mistake, that God will always come to your rescue. His point was that you ought to count the cost prior to the process.
That's right.
And not wait till you get in the middle of the process and then say, I forgot something.
That's
and so,
right.
I'm just saying, so when you think about it in that way, it kind of helps, I guess, put in your mindset a different way of thinking. And I think, again, everyone should think that way. It's a different way of thinking, a different mindset, whether you're married or single. Because I'm married, been married for a long time. But you know what? I still have built a life such that if something were to happen, let's say, it doesn't have to be divorce, it could be your spouse is deceased, you become a widow. It could be all those kind of things. It could be one spouse becomes unable to work because of sickness or debilitating injury. The question still is, how do you carry on with one income? So you have to be able to think that way even when you're married.
That's true.
Is that, what will happen and how do we move on if only one of us has an income?
Mm-hmm.
Because till death do you part don't mean as long as we're rich.
That's true. That is right.
But anyway, so I think that's why I think it's such a good topic to talk about.
I agree. So I want to talk about being a good steward, how we can learn, not just as singles, but just everyone in general, practicing or learning financial literacy, disciplining ourselves. I'm in the process of going through that right now. And it can be difficult. But one thing I want to bring up, I want to address this, is important. I hear this a lot when it comes to tithing. How important is that it's important, period, not just a single person. I understand that.
Sure.
But a single mother, typically we have more difficulties when it comes to tithing because some may already be struggling financially. Or if you're not struggling, maybe you're just making ends meet. And
let me say
you
this.
can't squeeze out anything.
Okay, let me say this.
Okay.
Because being a single mother or being a single man does not mean it's easy. It doesn't matter what your gender is. It matters what your income is and how you use that income.
Okay.
Right? So, and there are married couples that still live week to week. It's not, it's not it's not necessarily something that deals with being single, but the same, but it applies to single and married folk. Now, so, when you say it's hard, well, first of all, let me say this. Jesus said that where your treasures are, that's where your heart will be. Okay. Now, I hear people say all the time that it's hard to tithe. I can't tithe. And they give me all these reasons why they can't tithe. And then I see them with an iPhone. And I think to myself, okay, well, I get it, and they got an iPhone. Or I'll see the single mother and the two kids, and both of the kids have iPhones. Or the kid is wearing tennis shoes that cost more than my shoes cost. Right? Okay. Those kind of, I have people that work for me. And this is really, really true. Okay. And I worked for the federal government. I was a senior manager. Okay. I have people that work for me that made half of what I made. And their children's clothes cost twice what my children's clothes cost me. Wow. Okay. See, they're spending $100 on tennis shoes. Their kids are wearing Jordans. My kids never wore Jordans with my money. Okay. Now, you can think about it with their money, but not with my money. Okay. See, with my money, you at that time Kmart was a store, right? You went to, it was simple. I would tell my kids all the time, A and B students get to go to the mall. C and D students go to Kmart. All right. I'm just that simple. Now, so for one of them, Kmart was their store. And one of them, they went to the mall sometimes. Okay. But then sometimes they went to Kmart too. Okay. You see, because the $10 sneakers last just as long as the $100 sneakers. Really? And yes, really they do. And the $10 sneakers, you run just as fast at them as you do with them. I say, all those things are true. Wrangler jeans, for example. Okay. Wrangler jeans last longer than designer jeans. Yeah, they're still out, I believe. Yeah. And so, but yet we'll buy the more expensive product, right? Yeah. So I'm saying it's not a matter necessarily of having the money. It's where our value system is at. See, if your value system is somewhere, and that's what Jesus said, where your treasures are, is where your heart will be. So if my treasure is on Jesus, if my treasure is on there, that becomes the most important thing. So rather than me, spending all this money on these other things that I say are necessities, I say, well, what is the real necessity in my life? Okay. And to me, my real necessity is making sure that I'm right with my God. That's right. Now, granted, I may not be perfect with my God, but there's some things that are in my control. That's it. That I want to go ahead and do. Okay. And so I say to anyone that, and a part of, is, again, what's most important to you, right? So, do you need an iPhone, or will a track phone do? Right? Think about, well, what do I really need the phone for? Okay. Well, if the phone, if a track phone will do, I get a track phone. Right? Now, it may not, I'm not saying it will in all cases, but I'm just saying if that's where you are, you do that until you can do something else. Right? Okay. And so that, a part of the budgeting and discipline process.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for most of us, it is not just about the item, but about the feeling we have for ourselves because we have the item.
That's it right there.
Like, and I'll give you a classic example, right? For example, I'll use myself as an example, okay? The glasses I have on right here, okay? These glasses cost $29.
Really?
Really.
They're nice.
Except I buy them online.
Okay.
Right? It's a place called Zenith.
I've heard of that.
Right.
Okay.
And I buy them online. Now I was talking with a friend of mine, and he was telling about his glasses, and his cost $250, right? And mine cost $29.95, right? Okay.
Oh boy.
So he had a name brand.
Okay.
I did not. And I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, when they're on my face, I don't see the little silver thing on the inside. It's got the name on it, right? What I'm concerned about is the glass in front.
That you can see.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what's important, then why do I need the name brand frames, right? But that's what people do, right? Because it makes them feel better about themselves. They get the name brand, My father taught me something a long time ago. And again, I learned lessons. I would say this to see, I was not only taught lessons, I learned the lesson.
Okay.
And my father said to me this. He said, buying an expensive car is not for you.
Okay.
It's for the people that you are around. He said, because when you're driving down the interstate, you're on the inside. You can't even see the outside. He said, when it's parked in the driveway, it's so the people that's driving up and down the street can look over there and say, hey, look at that nice car you got, right?
I agree.
So his point was, he said, listen, when you buy a car that fits your purpose and not someone else's eyesight.
That makes a lot of sense.
So if it's got air conditioning, because I got to have that, right?
I know, right?
If it's got, some music, I got to have that, right? Then the rest of the stuff, I don't need.
Okay.
Now, granted, I know somebody's going to say, hey, Pastor Daniels, I've seen your car. Well, I can afford my car.
Okay. Yes, he can.
Right. And I'll give you a quick example of that, what I'm talking about. When I first got married, I had a decent job, worked for the federal government. I go on this car lot and I tell the guy, I said, give me the cheapest car on the lot. And he said, really? And I said, yes. He said, so you ready to buy today? I said, absolutely. I need a car. I needed a car.
Okay.
Right? Because the car had broke down and it was not going to get fixed anymore.
Okay.
So he shows me a car on the lot that has everything. Power this, power that, and every kind of thing. So I looked at him and said, this is the cheapest car y'all got in the lot? He said, sir, I can look at you and tell you a man of class. So I'm making sure I give you that which I know fits your personality. So I start walking away from him.
Oh, wow.
As I'm walking away, the manager said to me, is everything all right? And I said, of course it is. He said, you're leaving. And I said, because I told him what I wanted. And he said, y'all didn't have it. He said, what you mean we don't have it? I said, I told him the cheapest car on the lot. And he showed me something that I know is not the cheapest on the lot. And so the manager says, are you serious? That's what you want? I said, yeah. He said, come here. He took me in the back and showed me a B2000 Mazda truck.
Okay.
That had manual windows. Okay. It was a 5-speed and an AM/FM radio.
That worked.
Right?
Did you buy it?
And the grits grow.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I bought it. $49.95. Brand new. Cheapest car on the lot.
Wow.
And then average car cost was about $9,000. Okay. $49.95. He said, you want it? I said, yeah. He said, are you serious? I said, I told you I wanted the cheapest car on the lot because that's all I needed. Okay. So I bought what I needed. Okay. Because I knew I was in the budget. Now there were people who laughed at me. Matter of fact, one of the deacons came to me and said, Pastor Daniels, why are you embarrassing us? He said, I saw you in a funeral procession. And there was the lead car. There was your truck. And, I said, I don't think the dead man cared. Right? I said, but if you care, I'll welcome the church buying me a car.
All right now.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, that's an example of what I'm talking about. Because I didn't need all the other stuff.
Okay.
All I needed was to get back and forth to work. Okay. I was working on my master's degree at the time. Get back and forth to work and keep going to school.
Okay.
I need reliable transportation. Most people don't think that way.
No, we
They
don't.
go in the
You're
car
right.
lot and they'll buy a car, as the man told me, that fits your personality. Well, no, buy a car that fits your pocketbook.
Exactly.
Not your personality.
You are 100% right about that. And I'm guilty. You spoke of the glasses, I'm guilty of that. Even though we have
beautiful glasses, by the way.
Thank you. Even though we have HSA accounts on our job and things like that, we can take money out, but we wouldn't have to take out so much if we disciplined ourselves in the way that you just mentioned. So those are some good tips there.
Well, and that's what you want to do. I mean, it comes with, like you said, well, how can I tithe? Well, it comes with doing two things. One, you have to budget in order to tithe. Right?
That's true.
The way you do it is this. You ask yourself, there are two types of money that you have, right? You have those things that are what I call fixed, well, just not me, but you have fixed costs and variable costs, right? Okay. And then you have those things that you have to pay and those things that you like to pay. Okay. Right? And the thing you do is this. You know your fixed costs you can't change.
That's right.
Right? That's you can't. That's your rent is the same every month. You can't change that, right? Okay. But there's some variable costs that we have that we don't think about that you can change, right? Okay. What you eat is variable. You can change that cost. You can reduce that. True. Clothing, you can change that cost. You can reduce that. Entertainment, you can change that. All those kind of things you can change. So when you prepare your budget, the first thing you do is you put those fixed costs up there first. Boom. Yes. Okay. I gotta do this. I can't change that. And so you look at your total income, your total fixed cost, and that gives you a sub net. So you subtract the total fixed from the total income. Now I have a sub net. Okay. Now look at that net and I say, wait a minute. If I don't have enough money left over to tithe, how do I reduce my variable costs? Then that's how you. That's right. That's how you. And how do I save money for me? So I always pay me, and I always pay God, because those are the two most important folk in my life. That's right. Me and God. So I got to give God 10%. I got to give me 10%. Right? So how do I reduce that other cost? Well, I look at the things that can vary. Right. Like I don't have to have the phone plan that I have. True. So I can vary that cost. So I shrink that down to the bare minimum. Now I might pull it back up, but right now I'm just going through that process. Okay. I shrink that down to the bare minimum. I might have some other costs, entertainment, whatever. I shrink that down to the bare minimum. Even gas, I can vary that because I can always say, you know what, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, and everything I pick up, I'm going to get it on the way home. That's right. Or I'm going to get it on the way out. So I can shrink that down to the bare minimum. My food costs, I can shrink that down because I don't have to buy lunch. Bring food from home. Right. Right. I can cook. I learned that from one of my first cousins when I was living in D.C. And I, government job, but I wasn't making that much money. It's a government job. And she said, "Let me tell you something." She said, "This is what you do." She said, "Go to the store, buy a 10-pound bag of potatoes." Okay. She said, "Buy the cheapest meat you can find." And she said, "And buy tomato soup." Okay. Okay. She said, "Now you got what you need. That's all you need to buy." She said, "Now you buy that, you can drink water." She said, "That's your staples." And I'm like, "Gotta be kidding me." She said, "No. She said, "Here's what you do." She said, "You can make French fries one day.
Goodness
baked potatoes the next day."
Okay.
And load it up. And load it the next day. You got mashed potatoes the next day.
Goodness gracious.
Then you have potato soup the next day. And so she showed me how to do all that. And I said, you know what? Good point. And so that's what I did. Wow. Okay. So I cut my weekly groceries when I was in D.C. was $25. Now, weekly groceries was $25. Okay. Okay. And that included my lunch. Because what I would do is the meat that I bought was always something that I could slice and take a sandwich out of or make a sandwich out of it. Okay. And so that was what I did. I did that for a while and saved up money. Once I got the raise, then I could do different. Yeah. So I'm saying those are things you can cut. People like, hey, bro, you going to lunch today? I said, y'all go ahead. You sure? I said, no, y'all go ahead. I'm going to go.
Had to be creative and then also disciplined once again.
I knew that, hey, you know, I can't go, I can't eat for y'all because y'all make more money than I make. You know, see, them guys would go out to lunch every day.
Yeah.
You know, and I couldn't go every day, you know, because I wasn't making the money they were making. I was brand new in the government.
Okay.
And so I'm saying, you know, those are the kind of things you do, but you don't have to do it for long. Just to do it long enough till your income increases to where you can do those other things.
Okay.
And there's some other things you probably will find out that you really don't need. They just wants anyway.
Oh, most definitely. We have a tendency to, society kind of determines what we do, so to speak. Like now I notice, and I'm not knocking anyone for what they do, what they wear and how they do things, but just like you said, ways to cut back. Maybe the false eyelashes, you know, things like that. The hair weaves and the wigs. I've heard people say they spend $400 or $500 on hairstyles, and that's insane to me. I don't know. Maybe it could be a health condition. You know,
but there's no such thing.
That's a lot of money.
There's no such thing. I'm just saying, this is the bottom line, right? My mother wore wigs most of her life, and I bet you she never spent $400 on one.
No.
Now, somebody might say, well, she looked like she ain't spending either, but it don't matter. Okay. See, the whole deal is this. That's a part of it, right?
Yeah.
We buy not for ourselves. We buy for others.
That's right. For other people to see.
For other people to see. But see, when you at home broke, what does it matter what other people saw?
You sure right. Because then you upset, you sad because you don't have money to do this and that. The necessities at this point because you spent your money in other places.
That's right.
And I know at one point I bought a $25 wig from the wig store. My daughter joked me like, Mom, you don't go to the wig store and just buy a wig off the stand. I said, well, why not? I just needed something to put on my head when I'm having a bad hair day. Right. So I do understand, but not everyone thinks in that way because we have priorities and places where we want to put our money. Like you said, you can look in a person's checkbook or look at the receipts, look online, and you can see exactly where the money goes. And I can honestly say for me, it was food. You know, I cut back in other areas, but then I recognized I started spending in other places, food, eating out, because it's just me, not cooking. But when I cook at home, I can make a casserole and eat all that thing all week.
Well, and that's the thing, right?
So it's for lunch and dinner. So,
right. So how can I maximize singleness if I am broke?
You can't.
Right? You can't. So what you want to do, because I think that's the other thing. When you are broke, it makes you lonely. It makes your being alone feel lonely.
It sure does.
Right? Well, see, when you got plenty of money, you don't feel lonely when you're broke. Because see,
that's so true.
I know. Because now, see, it's a choice. But when you're broke, you don't feel like it's a choice. But when you got money in your pocket, if you don't go somewhere, it's a choice.
That's right.
That you sit at home and you curl up with a good book, and it's a choice that you're doing. When you're broke, you sit at home saying, I can't go with them.
Or I wished I could do this and do that.
Could go, right.
Yeah, wow.
So again, that's the thing about, I'm saying, maximizing your singleness is that, you know, it's hard to do it without maximizing your finances. And the reason why I'm saying you want to always tithe and then do that 10% is because you want to always be investing for your future. Okay. You want to always be investing. So it doesn't matter how much it is. If that little bit extra is only $20 a week, it's going to grow in time. So you want to take the $20 and invest it. Any money you have that's above what you need for emergencies should go in some type of investment. Okay. You should always go in some kind of investment. So that money is working for you as you're moving forward. And before you know it, that little bit will be a lot.
Wow.
You know, and so as it's growing, then you also budget for everything. You know, even today, I budget for vacations. I budget for everything.
Yeah, makes sense.
If I know I want to go, you know, to Barbados, let's say, I budget for the trip. Okay. Right? If I get to the time to go and my budget says you don't have enough money, I don't take it from other places. So I won't take it from my savings.
What do you do?
I don't go.
Okay. All right. right now. But
because I'm not going to bother. The money I have invested for my future, that's what it's for.
Okay.
So I'm not going to rob from my future to take care of my present.
Okay.
Because when I get to my future, I'll be broke.
Yeah, you're right. If you keep borrowing from it.
If you keep borrowing from it. So I only use the present money for present things, and future money is always for my future things.
Okay.
So if I'm budgeting for that purpose, and let's say I had the money there, but an emergency came up, had to fix my car.
Okay.
So now I don't have enough money in my vacation account because I had to fix my car.
Okay.
That means I had to change my vacation plans.
Okay.
And now, rather than me going to Barbados, it's a staycation now.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And I may go to Richmond.
Okay.
Or I may go to Williamsburg. Or I may just stay home and say, you know what, let me set something up in the house that look like I'm where I'm going and just enjoy it, the same way.
Gotcha.
Because you never want to borrow from your future, for a present need.
Right.
So, and after a while, that becomes your way of operating, your way of thinking. But it's much more pleasurable when you know you're covered. I'm single or married. And I say this right now, and most people here know this. More marriages end based on money than on infidelity.
True.
So you'll put up with infidelity if the person got money. Now, how do we know this? Because we look at Kobe Bryant.
A lot of them.
Kobe Bryant, not only that, but see, Kobe Bryant was on the news. They got him called red-handed. The woman said he raped her. It was like, boom.
Yeah.
What did he do? Came home with a 4-carat diamond.
And I think he bought the mom a house too.
And they stayed together.
Yeah, until he died.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at Magic Johnson. And Magic Johnson walked home and said, Cookie, I got AIDS. Cookie said, all that money you got, we're going to work with you.
Yeah. Well, at this point,
Magic gonna work it out.
She's probably wondering, where am I going? I probably got, even though
I'm just saying they worked it out.
I get it.
I'm not saying they weren't in love, but they were. But I'm just saying, but if you broke and you come home and say, hey, honey, I just got accused of rape. You got accused of what? Right?
It's like, what's the point? I'm dealing with all this.
And I got to deal with you and your foolishness. I'm raping and screaming, trying to pay me. It changed the whole dynamic, right? So I'm just saying, so even married couples, money can damage the relationship. But when you're single and if you're financially secure, I'm not saying you have to be rich, but financially secure, it changes the whole outlook. It changes everything. Okay. Your mind is at ease. Matter of fact, you ain't looking for a man. You're real careful then.
You're real careful right then. About that, because when you worked hard to build your nest egg or just to have certain things, I think that way even now. And I'm just really getting to that point of building again. Right. I had to cut back and move and things like that. But I'm still very careful about who I allow into my space. And when I think about certain things, my potential and what I'm trying to do, I want to make sure that the next person has that, can meet me there. Now, I'm not saying that everyone is perfect when you meet them. That's not the case. We all have struggles and things that we go through. But at the same time, you want to recognize who you are attaching yourself to in that way. Well,
I'm going to say it this way because you shy about saying it. So I'm going to say it this way.
Okay.
But it's just bottom line. I'm not single, of course. If I were single, there's no way I would attach myself to anybody that didn't make me better.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
If you don't make me better, why am I attaching myself?
You're right. I agree.
That's a waste of a waste of my time.
It definitely.
It can't be me just making you better. It's got to be us making each other better.
That's right.
Like that's the key thing, and that's what I'm saying. If a woman is secure in her finances, or a man, if you're secure in your finances, then you don't feel that push to find somebody.
You really don't.
There is a certain amount of satisfaction that I have made it. And you guard that. And you guard your heart more.
You do.
And you guard what you have accomplished more, because you don't want someone coming along and taking it away from you. But you also are able to enjoy your life more.
That's true.
Because you're not struggling. So if you do want to go to New York and see a play, you can do it. You can call your girlfriend and say, listen, let's go to New York and see this play. And y'all can go and have a ball.
That's right.
So it changes things. But if you're waiting on that guy to take you to New York, The dynamic is different. And the same thing with a guy. Because there's some broke guys out here. If you're waiting on that woman to, you living with your mama. And you wait on that woman to put you in an apartment. So you can see, I tell guys all the time when I'm, I used to, I don't do it as much now, I'm a little older. But when I was counseling younger guys, I would tell them all the time this: if your name ain't on the lease, you homeless and just don't know it.
Yeah, you're right, because you can tell them at any moment, you got to go.
You got to go. And I don't just mean your girlfriend's lease either. I mean your mama house.
That's right.
If your name ain't on the lease, if your name ain't on the mortgage, if your name ain't on the deed, I don't care who you living with. You're homeless and just don't know it.
That's why it's best to have your own.
Because even mama can kick you out.
That's right.
Or mama can remarry. Whoever she married gets rid of your behind.
That's right, because they feel like, hey, it's time for this person to fly.
You saw the movie Baby Boy?
Yes.
What she tell Baby Boy? It's my time.
Hey.
You got to get out now and do your thing.
Yes.
See, you homeless. So it's not just the women who are single. They have to be thinking about financial security and financial literacy. It's the man as well.
I agree. I totally agree. Well, let me ask you this question here. In the Bible, it speaks of tithing 10% of your first crop. I read that. What do you say to people that feel like, I don't have the money, and perhaps they're wanting, I know we just discussed this, but can you tithe other resources, your time, gifts, talents? Right.
Okay, let's just be real, all right?
Okay.
So just right quick, let's understand why they tithe.
Okay.
There were 12 tribes. One is the Levitical tribe. The Levitical tribe, the Levites, which were the priests, they had no land of their own and they had no crops and all this kind of thing. The 11 tribes were required to tithe so that the Levitical tribe would have substance. Now, you think this Levitical tribe could survive off of your services? No. Right. They needed your financial support. They needed your crops. They needed food. They needed this kind of thing. Because they couldn't keep all of it themselves.
True.
A part of it went to sacrifices unto God. And a part of it they kept to eat for themselves. Right? So the same thing applies, right? Let's say, for example, you're tithing. In Enoch Baptist Church. Now, what of your services does Dominion Power accept?
You're right. Okay.
So none of it, right?
No.
So I can't go to Dominion Power and say, listen, here's the $2,000 check. And by the way, Angie's going to come and do some service for the other $500. So they don't want to hear that, do they?
Okay. I like that example.
So no. I mean, and so the issue is not what service can I give in lieu of. The issue is it's supposed to be a sacrifice for God, right? So if I only give God that which I don't need, if I only give God that which is excess, how have I given him a sacrificial offering? Sacrificial means a sacrifice. You're right. So that means I have to be willing to take that. That's why it's always your first fruits. That's why it was always your best. Because it was sacrifice. And most people look at it like, let me give him what's left.
Yeah, you're right.
After I do everything else. After I've clubbed, after I've ABC stove, after I've, whatever. But so that's really the long and short of it.
Okay. I'm sure our time is near.
Yeah, we got about 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, what I will say is this here. I recognize also, first of all, seeking God for purpose, those are some ways we can earn extra income. Using our gifts and our talents. We have to actually step into purpose and learn how to use those gifts outside of our ministry to help someone else. Those are services we could be providing for other people.
I would say this, and what you're saying is absolutely true. But I would say this. The question is, do I need to earn more money? Or do I need to learn how to manage what I already earn?
It might be both.
I think that's the key, right? The key is, am I living above my means or am I living within my means?
You are so right.
I'm saying that's the thing. So do I need to live in this neighborhood or do I want to live in this neighborhood? Do I want to drive this car? Do I need to drive this car?
Yes.
Again, I'm saying those are the kind of things you have to ask yourself. Now, I believe that God will supply all of my needs. That's what Paul said. That's what the word says. I believe that. But also believe that if I don't try to get there ahead of God,
Mm-hmm.
He'll put me where He wants me to be. So I may start off in this neighborhood right here, but when I serve God the way God intends me to serve Him, He will elevate me over here. Okay. So He will get the glory. Okay. Now, God don't get the glory. I'm not saying you can't get more money. That's not what I'm saying. But this is how God gets the true glory out of our lives when we are doing what we're supposed to do. We live above our means, not because we have more money. We don't live above our means, not because of anything other than the fact that God has made a way that nobody can figure out. See, that's the thing, right? For example, I used to own a plane. Okay. Now, average people don't buy planes. No. Right? So how could I afford to buy one if I'm making less money than other people making? Right? Because God made a way. See, the miracle of that was that I was able to get the plane without having the money. Because God, I didn't say I didn't pay for it, but I'm saying that God made that happen for me. Right? He set me up with a person who his wife has said, you got two choices. Get rid of the yacht or get rid of the plane. Oh. And she said, remember this, we can't sleep in the plane. Okay. Okay. So he said it had to go. And it was just out of the clear blue sky, I connected with him. I'm saying so what he ended up investing, I should say investing, he was giving me $30,000 in equity in the plane. So I'm saying, approximately, give or take a few $1,000. God will do this stuff for you. So when people were looking at me, I remember when I first got to the airport, and the people were looking at me like, this Negro, wait a minute here. Because of their expectation. Yes. But what they didn't know was I didn't have a lot of money. I had a lot of God. Okay. So right. that's what I'm saying. It's not always what you climb up to be. It's how God will position you so that, it will demonstrate His goodness and His glory, beyond that which you thought would have happened. Yes. And people won't know why. You won't even understand why, and you even yourself will be thinking, how in the world did I acquire this with this income? But He will make that way for you. So that's why I'm saying that's the beauty of tithing. Listen, that's what the Bible says in Malachi. It says, prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Okay. That's what He says. Bring me all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. And He's telling us right then and there, He will be the one to drop the blessings out. You won't have to slave for them. You won't need to have to get 3 jobs for them. Okay. He will fix it up so that the blessing will fall in your lap and you won't even believe how great it was. That's awesome. I love that. You have answered all of my questions just without me necessarily having to ask them. So that was great. So we learned it here from the man. See how the Holy Ghost will do things? That's right. So the first thing I will say is this. Live within your means. Make those adjustments to live within your means. It can be tough, but necessary. I just experienced that, and that hurt my feelings so bad. But like you said, is it for you or is it for others? Right. But God will catapult us ahead if we are living within, being a good steward. I'll put it that way. He'll make a way. He sure will. Way. Yes. So thank you guys. Thank you, Dr. Daniels. I appreciate you always. Thank you. I enjoyed it. And thank you all for allowing us in your homes. Have a good day.